Have you ever felt like something's off about a person, but couldn't put your finger on it? Maybe they smile in ways that don't feel genuine, or their words sting when they shouldn't. Today, we're diving into 10 undeniable signs that you're dealing with an evil person. One who's not just toxic, but manipulative at their core. And we're using Stoic wisdom to show you how to spot them before it's too late. Let's face it, not everyone who walks into your life has your best interests at heart. In fact, some people are masters at hiding their true intentions. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca have long warned about the dangers of being around such people. Their words still resonate today, reminding us to stay vigilant and protect our peace. So, if you've ever found yourself questioning someone's character, this video will reveal 10 clear signs that you might be in the presence of evil. Stick around to find out how to identify them, and more importantly, how to respond with wisdom. We all encounter people in our lives who leave us feeling uneasy, drained, or confused. It could be a colleague, a friend, or even someone close to you. The problem is, these individuals don't come with warning labels. They know how to blend in, how to gain your trust, and how to make you question your own judgment. And this is where things get tricky, because their manipulation is often subtle, making it difficult to spot until it's too late. But the good news is, you don't have to rely on guesswork. The Stoics believed in the power of self-awareness and reason to guide us through difficult situations. If you know how to read the signs, you can protect yourself from falling prey to the toxic influence of these people. Let's take a look at the first sign. Sign 1. They constantly undermine you. When you're around certain people, you may start to feel that something isn't right, but it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is. One clear sign that you might be dealing with a toxic person is their ability to constantly undermine you, often without you realizing it at first. They do it in subtle ways that can leave you questioning yourself, feeling less sure of your abilities, or second-guessing your worth. It could start with seemingly harmless comments. Perhaps they'll say something like, "Wow, I didn't expect you to pull that off," or, "Well, you tried your best, I guess." On the surface, these may appear as compliments or neutral observations, but in reality, they carry an underlying message that your achievements are unremarkable or don't truly matter. They mask their criticism with a smile, hiding the intent to belittle or lower your self-esteem. They may also use backhanded compliments, comments that seem flattering but are actually meant to hurt. Think of phrases like, "You're actually really smart for someone who didn't go to college," or "I didn't know you could be so successful without a lot of experience." It sounds like praise at first, but in truth, it's a comment that tries to put you in a box, diminishing your real accomplishments and subtly telling you that you're not quite good enough, no matter what you do. Then there are the more direct jabs, remarks that hit just a bit too close to home. These are the types of comments that make you feel uncomfortable, as if something is wrong with you, but you can't immediately figure out why. You might hear things like, "You're a bit too emotional for someone so smart," or "I guess it's good you're trying, but some people just have more natural talent." These comments can leave you questioning your abilities, your emotional state, or your place in the world. What makes these signs even more dangerous is that they often disguise themselves as humor or constructive criticism. They want to make you feel like you're being overly sensitive or defensive if you try to call them out on it. This creates a toxic dynamic where you begin to doubt your own judgment, wondering if you're being too sensitive or misinterpreting things. But here's the thing, no matter how cleverly disguised their words are, these toxic people are trying to manipulate you. Their goal is clear. They want to weaken your confidence and self-esteem. By undermining you, they gain control over your thoughts and feelings, making you more reliant on their approval. In their eyes, your success or happiness is a threat to their own sense of power, so they attempt to diminish you to make themselves feel superior. From a Stoic perspective, it's crucial to remember that our worth is not determined by the opinions or judgments of others. One of the core tenets of Stoicism, as taught by Marcus Aurelius, is the idea that we should focus only on what we can control: our actions, our thoughts, and our reactions. Everything outside of that realm is beyond our influence and should not disturb our inner peace. So, when someone tries to undermine you, it's a clear reminder that their words have no power unless you give them that power. To cultivate a Stoic mindset in these situations, the key is self-awareness and self-control. By understanding that you can't control what others say or think, but you can control how you respond, you free yourself from the emotional weight of their words. When someone tries to undermine you, instead of internalizing their negativity, you acknowledge that this is their issue, not yours. The Stoic approach is to accept that external events and comments are not in your control, but your reaction to them is. You could respond by simply not engaging with their negativity. When a person makes a dismissive comment, instead of trying to prove them wrong or argue, you can calmly walk away or change the subject. This is not about avoiding conflict, but about maintaining your dignity and peace of mind. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." So, when someone tries to undermine you, you can choose not to give them the power to affect your emotions or self-worth. The next time you're faced with someone who tries to undermine you, whether it's a subtle comment or an outright insult, remember that your worth is not defined by their perception. You have the power to let go of their negativity, knowing that you are the one who gets to define your value. That's the beauty of Stoic philosophy. It teaches us to remain steadfast in our own sense of self, regardless of how others try to knock us down. And importantly, this kind of strength doesn't mean you have to tolerate toxic people in your life. Recognizing these signs is the first step in creating healthy boundaries and protecting your mental well-being. Stoicism isn't about putting up with mistreatment, it's about responding to it with wisdom, detachment, and self-respect. Sign 2. They always play the victim. Have you ever dealt with someone who can never take responsibility for their actions? Someone who constantly flips the script and makes themselves the victim, no matter what happens. It's as if, no matter the situation, they somehow manage to twist things in a way that makes you feel like the bad guy, even when it's clear they are the one in the wrong. If you've encountered someone like this, it's a definite sign you might be dealing with an evil, manipulative person. This tactic is not only manipulative, but deeply harmful. When someone is constantly playing the victim, it's their way of avoiding accountability. They don't want to face the reality that their actions or behavior might have caused harm. Instead, they spin a narrative that casts them as the helpless one, the one who's been wronged by circumstances or by you, often without any real reason. Their goal is simple: to gain sympathy and, most importantly, to avoid taking any responsibility for their mistakes or toxic behavior. For example, imagine you confront someone about something they did that hurt you, and instead of owning up to their actions or apologizing, they immediately turn the situation around. They might say things like, "Well, I didn't ask for all this stress in my life," or "You're always so harsh with me, can't you see I'm struggling?" The problem isn't addressed, and now you're the one feeling guilty for even bringing it up. Their entire approach is designed to make you feel bad for questioning them, and to shift the focus away from their toxic behavior. The real danger here is how effective this tactic can be. It makes you feel like you're the one at fault, even though you're simply trying to express your feelings or correct a situation. Over time, this can wear down your emotional defenses, making you doubt your perceptions and question whether you're being too hard on them. It's exhausting to constantly try to fix a problem that isn't yours to fix in the first place. The key to spotting this behavior is to observe how the person reacts when they are held accountable for their actions. Do they take ownership of their mistakes, or do they immediately redirect the conversation to how hard their life is, how unfair things have been for them, or how you're making them feel worse? If it's the latter, you're likely dealing with someone who is skilled in playing the victim. The Stoics, however, offer us a clear path for dealing with this kind of manipulation. Stoicism teaches us the power of rationality and emotional detachment. When faced with someone who refuses to take responsibility and instead plays the victim, the Stoic approach is to detach from the drama they're creating. We're reminded of a key principle from Epictetus, who said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This means that while the toxic person might try to manipulate your emotions, you have the power to choose how you respond. You don't have to absorb their victim mentality or let it cloud your judgment. In these situations, it's crucial to stay grounded in your own reality. Understand that their manipulation is a reflection of their inability or unwillingness to face their own shortcomings. They're not focused on improving themselves, learning from their mistakes, or becoming better. Instead, they're using your emotions to avoid introspection and to keep you focused on their feelings rather than addressing the issues at hand. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone does wrong, it is because they are misguided. Do not be angry with them, but take action based on your own understanding of what is right." Think about it like this. When someone tries to make you feel guilty for their problems, it's not about you. It's about their refusal to look inward and take responsibility for their actions. They would rather cast themselves as the victim than deal with the consequences of their own behavior. This is where the power of Stoic thinking comes in. Instead of engaging in their emotional drama or becoming a part of their victim narrative, you can choose to rise above it and respond with wisdom, patience, and clarity. Let's break it down. When a person starts playing the victim, it's essential to maintain your inner peace. A Stoic approach means resisting the urge to defend yourself or engage emotionally with their manipulation. Rather than becoming frustrated or angry, calmly state the facts of the situation and set boundaries. You might say something like, "I understand that you feel hurt, but that's not the issue here. The issue is," insert the actual problem, "and we need to address it directly." In this way, you're not getting pulled into their narrative. You're asserting your own reality, and you're doing it in a way that's grounded in reason and clarity. You're not letting their victimhood dictate your emotional state. You're taking the higher road, focusing on what's within your control, your thoughts, your actions, and your responses, rather than being dragged down by their manipulation. A key aspect of Stoic philosophy is learning to recognize when someone's actions are beyond your control and letting go of the emotional attachment to them. You can't control what others say or do, but you can control how you respond. If someone tries to play the victim and deflect responsibility, the Stoic response is not to become defensive or upset. Instead, you calmly set your boundaries and protect your emotional well-being, knowing that their drama doesn't have to affect you. Moreover, remember that by playing the victim, these people often want to make you carry their emotional burden. It's a form of emotional manipulation designed to keep you focused on their problems while they avoid solving their own. But as a Stoic, your duty is to focus on your own emotional health and growth, not to carry the weight of someone else's inability to confront their own flaws. Ultimately, when someone constantly plays the victim, it's not your responsibility to carry the emotional weight for them. Stoicism teaches us to observe, understand, and then detach with wisdom. By recognizing this behavior for what it is, You empower yourself to protect your inner peace and avoid falling into the trap of emotional manipulation. Sign 3. They love drama and conflict. Have you ever been around someone who seems to thrive in the middle of chaos? Someone who just can't resist stirring the pot, creating tension, and watching the drama unfold? It's almost as if they find pleasure in arguments, conflict, and emotional battles, whether between friends, family, or even co-workers. This isn't just a coincidence. Evil people have an uncanny ability to ignite conflict wherever they go, and they do it for a very specific reason. They feed off the energy that comes from other people's distress. Think about the last time you were in a peaceful, calm environment. Maybe it was a family gathering, a day at work, or a casual get-together with friends. Everything was going fine. Everyone was happy, relaxed, and enjoying themselves. But then someone opens their mouth. They make a seemingly innocent comment, but somehow it escalates into an argument. Suddenly people are upset, emotions are running high, and what was once a peaceful situation has turned into chaos. Have you ever thought to yourself, how did we get here? The answer is simple. The person who thrives on drama and conflict has made it their mission to disrupt that peace. Now, let's break this down. The reason toxic people love drama and conflict isn't just because they enjoy the attention. No, it's because they thrive on the chaos and the emotional energy it brings. When people are upset, frustrated, or angry, these individuals feed off those negative emotions. They don't care about finding solutions or creating harmony. They care about stirring things up. In fact, they often feel a sense of power or control over others when they can provoke such emotions. This constant need for drama is not a sign of a healthy individual. It's a sign of someone who seeks to destabilize others to elevate their own sense of importance. They want to see the emotional upheaval, and in many cases, they enjoy watching others squirm as they try to regain their balance. Whether it's a small disagreement that snowballs or a major argument that divides people, evil people have a talent for making sure there's always conflict lurking around them. So why do they do it? What drives them to create these emotional battles? The key is in the energy they get from other people's distress. It's almost like they can't function without it. The chaos and drama are like fuel for their emotional fire. Just like a predator feeds off the fear or distress of its prey, a toxic person feeds off the emotional responses of those around them. It gives them a sense of power, control, and satisfaction, as they feel like they are the center of attention in every situation. This type of behavior is draining. Constantly being surrounded by conflict is exhausting. But what makes it even worse is that the toxic person doesn't just enjoy the conflict, they often exacerbate it. They might throw out a provocative comment, stir up an old issue, or make an offhand remark that causes others to react emotionally. It's as if they take pleasure in watching everyone around them become unbalanced. Now, let's connect this to Stoic philosophy. The Stoics teach us that we must maintain our peace of mind, no matter what happens in the world around us. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." What he meant by this is that our emotional turmoil often comes from how we perceive situations rather than the situations themselves. When someone around you is constantly trying to provoke conflict, it can be incredibly tempting to engage with them, to fight back, to defend yourself, or to react emotionally. But according to Stoicism, this is exactly what the toxic person wants. They want to drag you into the chaos and rob you of your inner peace. It's crucial to recognize that the conflict they stir up is not really about you. It's not your responsibility to fix their emotional instability. Your peace, your tranquility, and your happiness are not dependent on them or their chaotic behavior. A true Stoic understands that external events, like arguments, insults, or manipulative behavior, are outside of their control. What you can control, however, is how you respond. You can choose to remain indifferent to their need for drama, and you can choose to protect your emotional well-being by refusing to engage. Think about the last time someone tried to drag you into a conflict. Maybe they made an offhand comment about someone you care about, or they told a lie to stir up trouble. In that moment, you had a choice. You could have reacted, defended yourself, argued back, and allowed yourself to get caught up in their emotional chaos. But what would have happened? You would have lost your peace, your calm, and your focus. This is exactly what the toxic person wants. They don't want resolution or peace. They want the emotional energy that comes from seeing others caught up in their drama. The Stoics remind us that we can choose to detach from this emotional manipulation. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This means that when someone tries to ignite a conflict, you have the power to remain calm, detached, and unaffected. You don't have to react to their provocations. Instead, you can simply observe their behavior with clarity and choose not to engage. A good Stoic practice in this situation is to focus on what you can control: your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. When you refuse to give in to the emotional drama that someone else is trying to create, you protect your inner peace. It's a powerful act of self-discipline and self-respect, and in doing so, you also deprive the toxic person of the energy they crave. You take away their power over you. Another important aspect of Stoicism is the idea of focusing on virtue and wisdom. When you're faced with someone who thrives on conflict, a Stoic approach is to rise above the situation. Instead of matching their energy and engaging in a pointless argument, focus on cultivating your own virtues, patience, kindness, and wisdom. By doing so, you demonstrate strength in character and emotional resilience, which is far more powerful than any drama or conflict they could try to stir up. In conclusion, toxic individuals who thrive on drama and conflict are trying to destabilize your emotional peace. Their goal is to feed off the energy created by tension and distress. But as a Stoic, you have the power to choose your response. By practicing indifference to their manipulations, focusing on your own emotional well-being, and maintaining a calm, virtuous mindset, you can protect yourself from being dragged into their chaos. Remember, their drama isn't your problem, it's theirs. Sign 4, they lack empathy. When you encounter someone who consistently lacks empathy, it's one of the clearest signs of an evil person. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. It's what allows us to connect, comfort, and help those who are suffering. But for toxic individuals, empathy is a foreign concept. Instead of feeling for others, they remain cold, detached, and often indifferent, especially when someone is going through a tough time. Have you ever been in a situation where you were experiencing hardship or emotional pain, and instead of receiving comfort or understanding, the person next to you seemed unaffected? Maybe they didn't offer a shoulder to lean on or even try to understand what you were going through. Instead, they made it all about themselves. Their response wasn't one of concern, but rather indifference, or worse, frustration or annoyance with your situation. You can feel the stark contrast between someone who genuinely cares and someone who is incapable of recognizing the pain of others. People who lack empathy are dangerous, not just because of their emotional coldness, but because they can be manipulative and self-serving. They will not hesitate to use the emotional vulnerabilities of others to their advantage. When a person is suffering or in need of support, someone lacking empathy will often exploit the situation, showing no regard for the emotional or psychological toll it takes on the other person. This isn't a mere lack of emotional insight, it's a deliberate disregard for others' feelings. Think of it this way: when you're struggling, you don't need someone to constantly remind you of their own problems. You need someone who will listen, someone who will offer solace, or at the very least, a caring presence. However, an evil person, one who lacks empathy, will not offer such support. They won't even try to understand your struggle. Instead, they'll center the conversation around how the situation affects them, or even worse, they'll ignore your pain completely and move on as if nothing happened. This apathy is a telltale sign of someone who isn't concerned with your well-being, only with their own. Now you might be wondering, why do people become so emotionally detached? Why do they seem unable to feel for others? In some cases, it's a learned behavior, a result of deep-rooted selfishness, narcissism, or emotional trauma. These individuals may have built emotional walls to protect themselves, but in doing so, they shut off their ability to connect with others. In other cases, it's a conscious choice, a strategy to maintain control or manipulate others. By avoiding empathy, they can maintain emotional distance and keep the upper hand in relationships. This detachment makes it easier for them to take advantage of others without feeling guilty or remorseful. The consequences of interacting with someone who lacks empathy can be severe. It can leave you feeling isolated, invalidated, and emotionally drained. When you open up to someone and they fail to offer the emotional support or understanding you need, it can make you feel as though your feelings don't matter. This not only damages your relationship with them, but can also erode your self-esteem over time. You might begin to second-guess yourself, wondering if your emotions are even worth acknowledging. The lack of empathy from others has a way of making you question your own worth, and that's one of the most toxic effects of dealing with such people. But here's the important thing. The Stoic philosophers remind us that our worth is not dependent on the actions or opinions of others. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This profound wisdom teaches us that when we encounter people who are unkind or lack empathy, our response should be grounded in virtue, not in bitterness or revenge. We shouldn't stoop to their level or seek to retaliate. Instead, we should focus on embodying the Stoic ideals of compassion and wisdom, showing kindness even when it's not returned. Empathy is a cornerstone of healthy relationships, and the Stoics knew this. While they didn't focus on emotional displays as much as some modern philosophies, they did emphasize the importance of treating others with respect and kindness. Marcus Aurelius urged us to recognize the humanity in others, stating, "The best way to avenge yourself is to not be like that." This means, when dealing with someone who lacks empathy, don't respond by mirroring their coldness or indifference. Instead, rise above it by continuing to show kindness and understanding to those who truly deserve it. Your ability to remain compassionate and virtuous in the face of adversity is one of the most powerful ways to protect your inner peace and shield yourself from their manipulative behavior. So, what does this look like in practice? Imagine a colleague who always dismisses your emotions, or a friend who only cares about their own struggles. The next time you find yourself in their presence, remember that you can't control their actions, but you can control your own response. Instead of being dragged down into their emotional void, focus on your own well-being. Seek out genuine connections with people who show empathy and care. Lean on them when you need support. And don't waste your time trying to gain validation from someone who is incapable of offering it. In dealing with individuals who lack empathy, it's also important to set boundaries. This may mean distancing yourself from them or limiting the emotional energy you invest in the relationship. The more you recognize their emotional indifference for what it is, the easier it becomes to protect yourself from their harm. Remember, empathy is not just about understanding others. It's about protecting yourself and your own emotional health too. In conclusion, an evil person's lack of empathy is a clear warning sign that they don't value or care for others. They are more focused on themselves and their own needs, often at the expense of those around them. While this may be painful to witness, it's important to remember that you are not responsible for their behavior. The Stoics encourage us to rise above the actions of others and focus on our own character. By doing so, we protect our emotional well-being and maintain our inner peace, regardless of how others choose to treat us. Sign 5. They are master manipulators. One of the most alarming signs that you're dealing with an evil person is their ability to manipulate reality. Unlike simple liars, these individuals go a step further. They twist the truth, distort facts, and shape narratives to serve their own interests. These manipulators don't just tell lies, they create alternate realities and pull you into them. They will craft scenarios that make you question your own perceptions, making you doubt what you know to be true. And the scariest part? They do this with a smile, all while making it seem like they have your best interests at heart. For example, imagine a person who repeatedly tells you things that contradict your own experience. Perhaps they deny promises they made or change the details of events in a way that doesn't align with what you remember. But instead of taking responsibility for their actions, they present the situation in such a way that you begin to feel like you're the one who's mistaken or overreacting. They use charm, guilt, and emotional manipulation to keep you second-guessing yourself, making you feel responsible for things you didn't do. It's a cruel cycle that can leave you feeling confused, guilty, and powerless. This form of manipulation isn't just limited to small lies or misunderstandings. It can extend to deeper emotional tactics. For instance, these individuals might play on your insecurities, feeding you compliments or gestures that seem kind at first, but which later turn into traps. They might use flattery to make you feel special or needed, only to then use that same admiration as a tool to control your decisions or actions. It's a deliberate effort to gain power over you by manipulating your feelings and sense of self-worth. Now, why is this so dangerous? It's because manipulation is a gradual process. At first it might seem harmless. Perhaps they convince you to do something that's inconvenient or uncomfortable, and you feel bad for refusing. But over time, this behavior escalates, and what was once a small request becomes a series of demands. Before you know it, you're so caught up in their world of lies and twisted truths that you can't even see what's real anymore. The goal is simple: to keep you hooked, to make you dependent on their version of reality, and to ensure that you're always questioning your own judgment. But here's the thing: the Stoic approach to this manipulation is grounded in the absolute importance of truth. The Stoics believed that a virtuous life must be based on reality and reason, and that lying to oneself or others is a fundamental betrayal of one's own integrity. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, famously said, "A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is." This means that if we allow others to manipulate us, we are essentially allowing ourselves to be unhappy. We're permitting them to twist our perception of reality, and in doing so, we're robbing ourselves of peace and contentment. In the Stoic worldview, truth is non-negotiable. It's not something you bend to suit your convenience, and it's not something you should allow anyone else to alter. One of the core Stoic beliefs is that we must seek clarity and understanding, regardless of how uncomfortable or inconvenient the truth may be. By doing so, we are empowered to make decisions based on what is truly important, instead of living in a world of falsehoods constructed by someone else. The manipulative individual thrives on deception because they know that once they control your perception, they control you. They want you to live in a fog of doubt, where you can't trust your own senses, your instincts, or your emotions. They want to be the only source of truth for you. This isn't just toxic behavior. It's a deliberate strategy to keep you in a constant state of confusion, making it harder for you to act independently and assert your own boundaries. This kind of manipulation can manifest in many ways. For example, they might give you conflicting information, making you unsure of what to believe. They might say things like, "I never said that," or "You misunderstood me," even when you know exactly what happened. Or they might even use others to reinforce their lies, pulling in mutual friends or family members to back them up. In these cases, the manipulator creates a web of deception that leaves you feeling isolated and questioning the very people around you. Stoicism teaches us to anchor ourselves to what is true, not to the shifting, unstable realities that others try to impose on us. When you recognize that someone is trying to manipulate you, the Stoic response is to detach yourself from their false narratives. Remember, we cannot control others, but we can control how we react. When confronted with a manipulative person, the Stoic approach is to maintain your internal clarity and integrity. This means not allowing their lies to shape your reality and not allowing them to make you question your worth or judgment. The first step in breaking free from manipulation is awareness. Recognize that if someone is continuously distorting the truth and using emotional tactics to control you, they are not acting in good faith. This is a form of emotional abuse, and it's something you must protect yourself from. Once you are aware of their manipulative behavior, you can begin to distance yourself from the lies and start focusing on your own understanding of reality. Speak the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, and stand firm in your beliefs. If the manipulator tries to gaslight you or distort the facts, don't let them succeed. Instead, calmly assert your own truth, and don't let them make you question yourself. In conclusion, evil people who manipulate others are experts at twisting reality to suit their desires. They will use lies, emotional tactics, and even your own insecurities against you. But the Stoic wisdom teaches us that truth is inviolable. By remaining committed to the truth, practicing clarity, and not allowing others to shape our perception of reality, we protect our peace and well-being. Don't let anyone control your narrative. Stay true to yourself, and remember that your inner peace comes from living in accordance with what is real and virtuous. Sign 6. They constantly take without giving. One of the clearest signs that someone is toxic is their inability to give back, even when they consistently take from you. Have you ever been in a relationship, whether it's with a friend, family member, or partner, where it feels like you're the one doing all the giving? You support them emotionally, provide financial help, or invest your time, only to find that when you need something, they're nowhere to be found. This imbalance is a hallmark of someone who is only interested in what they can gain from you, and it can be emotionally draining over time. The issue with this behavior is that it's often subtle at first. You might not even notice it when it begins. It might start with a simple request here and there, like asking for a favor or your emotional support during a difficult time. But as the relationship progresses, the favors begin to add up. They ask for more of your time, your energy, your resources, and your attention, all while contributing little to nothing in return. Over time, you start to feel like a one-way street, a place for them to unload their burdens without any consideration for your needs. This constant taking is a strategy. Toxic people know how to play the victim and can often make you feel guilty for not giving more. If you say no to their requests, they might act like you're being selfish or uncaring. They might manipulate your emotions by playing on your sympathy, making you feel like you're failing them, even though they're the ones constantly asking for help. What's more troubling is that when it's your turn to ask for something, whether it's help, support, or even a simple favor, They either ignore you or make excuses. This is where you see the true imbalance. They take everything, but they offer nothing back. This pattern of behavior is not only unfair, but it's also emotionally exhausting. It creates a toxic dynamic where you feel drained, unappreciated, and stuck. The more you give, the more they take, and the less you feel fulfilled or valued in the relationship. It becomes a cycle of one-sidedness that leaves you feeling empty and used. Now, how does Stoicism help us understand this situation? In Stoic philosophy, generosity and reciprocity are seen as vital components of living virtuously. For the Stoic, the act of giving is not about expecting anything in return, but about fulfilling one's moral duty to contribute to the well-being of others. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, taught that we should be generous, but also mindful of our limits. He said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live wisely." To live wisely means to give, but also to ensure that we don't lose ourselves in the process. The Stoics believed that true generosity is an act of virtue. It's not transactional. You give not because you expect something in return, but because it is part of being a good person. However, the Stoics also understood the importance of balance. Generosity, while virtuous, should not come at the expense of your own well-being. Giving without receiving or having the expectation of reciprocity can be draining, especially when the other person is not giving back in any way. If someone is constantly taking from you without giving anything in return, they are taking advantage of your kindness, and this is where the imbalance lies. Stoicism teaches that our actions should be guided by wisdom and that we should carefully consider where we direct our energy. If you find that someone is always taking without reciprocating, it may be a sign that they are not acting with virtue. They are simply exploiting you. So, what do you do when faced with someone who constantly takes without giving? The first step is to recognize the pattern. Notice when you're being drained, when the relationship feels one-sided, and when your needs are consistently ignored. Once you are aware of the situation, it's time to set boundaries. Boundaries are a key aspect of maintaining your mental and emotional health. If you don't set limits on how much you're willing to give, you'll continue to be drained, and the toxic person will continue to take advantage of you. The Stoics believed in maintaining control over our own actions and reactions. You can give without expecting anything in return, but that doesn't mean you should give endlessly without regard for your own well-being. Recognize your own needs and be firm in setting boundaries to protect yourself from being taken advantage of. Sometimes this means saying no, firmly and without guilt. If someone is constantly taking from you without giving anything in return, they are taking advantage of your kindness, and this is where the imbalance lies. Stoicism teaches that our actions should be guided by wisdom and that we should carefully consider where we direct our energy. If you find that someone is always taking without reciprocating, it may be a sign that they are not acting with virtue. They are simply exploiting you. So, what do you do when faced with someone who constantly takes without giving? The first step is to recognize the pattern. Notice when you're being drained, when the relationship feels one-sided, and when your needs are consistently ignored. Once you are aware of the situation, it's time to set boundaries. Boundaries are a key aspect of maintaining your mental and emotional health. If you don't set limits on how much you're willing to give, you'll continue to be drained, and the toxic person will continue to take advantage of you. The Stoics believed in maintaining control over our own actions and reactions. You can give without expecting anything in return, but that doesn't mean you should give endlessly without regard for your own well-being. Recognize your own needs and be firm in setting boundaries to protect yourself from being taken advantage of. Sometimes this means saying no, firmly and without guilt. Another crucial aspect of Stoic philosophy is emotional resilience. If someone is constantly draining you, it's important to build emotional strength to resist feeling guilty or responsible for their behavior. You are not obligated to meet the endless demands of others, especially when those demands are one-sided. Focus on what you can control: your actions, your responses, and your energy. You have the power to decide how much of yourself you're willing to give and to whom. In the end, a healthy relationship is built on mutual respect and reciprocity. It's not about keeping score or demanding an equal exchange at every moment, but rather creating a dynamic where both parties contribute to each other's well-being. If you are constantly giving and the other person is taking without giving back, it's a sign that the relationship may not be as healthy as it seems. Recognizing this is the first step to reclaiming your peace and emotional energy. To sum it up, when someone constantly takes without giving, they are not participating in a healthy, reciprocal relationship. They are draining your resources, time, and energy, often leaving you feeling unappreciated. Stoicism teaches us that generosity is important, but it should be balanced with wisdom and self-care. Recognize when the giving is imbalanced and learn to set boundaries. Your time and energy are precious, and you deserve relationships that are based on mutual respect and contribution. Sign 7. They use guilt as a weapon. When someone is emotionally invested in you, their feelings can sometimes become tangled in manipulation, and one of the most common yet subtle tactics they might use is guilt. If they truly want to keep you close, but feel insecure or unsure of your commitment, they may resort to using guilt as a tool to control the situation or to get the emotional response they desire. People who use guilt as a weapon often try to make you feel responsible for their emotions, decisions, or even happiness. It could sound like a harmless comment at first, like, "I thought you cared more about me," or "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me." These statements may seem innocent, but they are designed to make you feel obligated, pressuring you into doing things you might not want to do just to ease the uncomfortable feeling of guilt they're placing on you. The key here is manipulation. They know how to twist a situation so that you feel like you owe them something, whether that's time, affection, or validation. This subtle emotional manipulation often goes unnoticed because it's cloaked in the guise of concern or disappointment. However, over time, this pattern can drain you emotionally and make you feel like you're always walking on eggshells around them. Guilt tripping is often used to elicit a sense of responsibility. It's about making you feel like if you don't act a certain way, they will suffer and it will be your fault. This could look like passive-aggressive behavior, silent treatment, or even open displays of sadness to prompt you into action. In some cases, it can be far more direct, such as demanding that you spend time with them or do something for them that goes beyond your personal comfort simply because they need you. Recognizing this behavior is critical for your emotional well-being. It's important to differentiate between genuine emotional needs and attempts to manipulate your feelings. Someone who genuinely cares about you would never try to control your actions through guilt. Instead, they would respect your boundaries, communicate their needs openly, and trust that you care about them without forcing you into uncomfortable positions. If you notice that guilt is becoming a recurring tactic in your interactions, it's crucial to set firm boundaries. Be clear about what behavior is acceptable and what isn't. Remember, a healthy relationship is built on mutual respect, and that means not allowing anyone to make you feel responsible for their emotional state or decisions. Sign 8. They have a lack of boundaries. When someone is deeply interested in you, their behavior can sometimes signal it in ways that might not be immediately obvious. One of the more subtle signs that someone is emotionally invested, yet struggling with maintaining a healthy distance, is the lack of boundaries. Boundaries in relationships are essential for emotional health, personal space, and respect, and their absence can be a red flag of deep attraction or feelings. People who lack boundaries may frequently test the limits of what's acceptable, either by over-communicating or intruding into your personal life without hesitation. This might manifest as them constantly texting you, even at odd hours, or showing up unexpectedly, as if they need to keep a close connection at all times. The need for constant interaction often comes from a place of insecurity or a desire to be constantly validated. In relationships, boundaries serve as a safeguard. They protect emotional well-being and help build trust. But when these boundaries are ignored or continuously crossed, it can create an unhealthy dynamic where one person may feel overwhelmed or even controlled. When you see someone violating these boundaries, be it physical, emotional, or social, it's not necessarily a sign of aggression, but often a sign that they are overly eager to get closer to you. This kind of behavior, while sometimes flattering, can also be stifling. It's important to notice the difference between genuine interest and someone trying to merge their identity with yours in a way that removes the necessary space for personal growth. In these situations, clear communication about your own boundaries is essential. By doing so, you are teaching them how to respect your needs while maintaining their own desires for closeness. Often, someone who lacks boundaries is not intentionally trying to control the situation. They're simply lost in their emotions and unable to gauge where their feelings end and yours begin. Understanding this can help you approach the situation with patience, while also reinforcing the importance of healthy relationship dynamics. If you encounter someone showing signs of this, it's an opportunity for both of you to grow. Them by learning to respect your space, and you by cultivating a deeper understanding of yourself and what you need in relationships. Sign 9. They are always seeking power. In any relationship, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, balance is key. Both people need to feel respected, valued, and treated as equals. However, when someone is constantly seeking power or control over you, it's a clear sign that their emotional investment is not rooted in mutual respect, but rather in a desire to dominate or manipulate the dynamic. Someone who is always seeking power in a relationship will often go to great lengths to assert dominance, whether subtly or overtly. They might try to control your actions, decisions, or even how you spend your time. For instance, they could pressure you into agreeing with their opinions or force their way into situations that are important to you without consideration for your needs or desires. This behavior often manifests in the form of subtle manipulation or more direct actions aimed at asserting superiority. They might downplay your achievements, belittle your opinions, or make you feel like you're always in the wrong. The goal is to shift the power dynamic so that they hold the upper hand, which allows them to feel secure in the relationship, even at your expense. A person seeking power in a relationship often lacks true empathy or understanding of your perspective. Instead, their actions are driven by a need to control outcomes to feel validated. This might mean they make decisions without consulting you, criticize you for minor things to undermine your confidence, or try to create situations where they are always the one to save or guide you, placing them in a higher, almost parental position. Power-seeking behavior can also extend to emotional manipulation. They might try to make you feel guilty for things you didn't do or place blame on you when things go wrong, always ensuring that they are seen as the one in control. Over time, this can wear you down emotionally, leaving you feeling weak or uncertain, like you are constantly playing catch-up in a game they are always leading. Recognizing this behavior is essential for protecting yourself in the relationship. If you notice a pattern of someone constantly trying to assert power, it's a red flag. Healthy relationships are about balance and respect, not control and manipulation. If you find yourself always conceding to their will or feeling inferior, it's time to reassess the relationship dynamic. The key to handling someone who is always seeking power is to establish firm boundaries and stand up for yourself. Acknowledge your own worth and never let someone use their need for control to diminish your self-esteem or agency. Remember, in a healthy relationship, both partners should feel empowered and equal. Sign 10. They have a dark charisma. Charisma can be an incredibly attractive trait, drawing people in with a magnetic energy and an ability to command attention. However, there's a certain type of charisma that goes beyond the typical charm and appeal, one that is darker, more manipulative, and often designed to captivate others in a way that feels almost impossible to resist. This is the dark charisma. Someone with dark charisma has an uncanny ability to make others feel deeply intrigued or fascinated by them. It's not about warmth or kindness, but about power, mystery, and intensity. They draw you in with an air of confidence that feels almost intoxicating, and they seem to know exactly how to make you feel seen or special, but in a way that is often unsettling. The key aspect of dark charisma is its ability to create an emotional roller coaster. People with this type of magnetic personality will often be unpredictable, keeping others on edge and guessing about their true intentions. They might show flashes of charm, but these moments are often followed by withdrawal, coldness, or even sudden acts of dominance. This push and pull dynamic keeps others emotionally hooked, making them crave more attention or approval despite the inconsistency. A person with dark charisma can often manipulate emotions without ever seeming overtly aggressive. They may use silence or subtle gestures to make you feel like you're missing something, drawing you in further in search of answers. This creates an emotional imbalance where you feel like you need to please them or gain their approval in order to experience the rare moments of warmth and attention they offer. It's an emotional game that is difficult to escape once you're caught in their spell. The danger of dark charisma lies in its ability to mask a person's true intentions. They may seem intriguing and their energy may seem like something you're drawn to, but it's essential to remember that this magnetic quality can be a tool for manipulation. They use their charisma not to build a genuine connection, but to create a sense of dependency or to control how others perceive them. If you find yourself feeling mesmerized by someone who seems to possess a dark charisma, it's important to step back and assess whether their behavior is genuinely making you feel valued or if it's simply a calculated performance designed to keep you hooked. Trust your instincts and don't let the allure of their charm overshadow the importance of healthy boundaries and self-respect. While dark charisma can be captivating in the short term, it's essential to realize that a true connection in a relationship is built on consistency, honesty, and mutual respect, not on emotional manipulation or controlling behavior. Now, you might be wondering, how do you protect yourself from these evil people? The Stoics give us the perfect guide. First, you must remember that you can't control other people's actions, but you can control how you respond. Build a strong foundation of self-awareness, remain detached from manipulative behaviors, and most importantly, don't let anyone disturb your inner peace. By recognizing these 10 signs early on, you can start to protect your energy and avoid falling into the traps set by toxic individuals. Evil people are a reality in life, but with Stoic principles, you can navigate these relationships with clarity and strength. Stay aware, trust your instincts, and never forget your inner worth. The Stoics teach us that we are the masters of our own emotions and reactions. Don't let anyone take that power from you. If you found this video insightful, subscribe for more Stoic wisdom and learn how to live your life with unshakable peace.